Hello, I'm Cheryl Hawkins. Welcome to Solutions, the show that highlights the incredible work that nonprofits do every day to help solve problems in our communities. On this edition of Solutions, we focus on the nonprofit So What Else? The organization's mission is to improve the lives of children and families living in underserved communities in the Baltimore-Washington Metro Area. Let's take a look at the impact So What Else has had on the life of one individual.
Our greatest resource is our children. You know, our mission has been to spark a passion for service in the kids that we serve.
Around here, it's not, everybody was getting in drama and stuff. Like So What Else opened up the recreation center for the kids to come and get away from the drama, get away from all the stress at home, come and like play with their friends, and we always got food, and some people didn't have food at home.
So What Else means becoming the impetus for change, connecting those who have stuff to give with those that need it.
I started this program when I was 11 years old. It started just coming to camp every day, doing regular exercising programs. They taught us the 10 pillars.
Meeting kids where they are takes so much effort and work to really be committed to youth development.
Coming here was like a second home to some people. Some people don't have all these resources at their houses, and So What Else opened up that for me and a lot of my friends.
We're responding to the needs that come up.
They made sure our homework was good. They made sure we was fed. They made sure that we were good, even mentally and physically. Even if we were sad, they were always here to talk to us.
You have to be willing to love your neighbor and take this beautiful gift of life and share that.
Every day we had to go out and clean up the community or plant a garden. And now I'm 17 and I'm teaching other kids the 10 pillars, and I'm teaching them like the importance of cleaning up your community and making sure your community is safe, because it is your community. And that's what So What Else taught me, because no one else is going to take care of your community but you.
And now joining me in studio, we are excited to have Dave Silbert, co-founder and executive director of So What Else. Dave, welcome to Solutions.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you for coming. Let's start by talking about the founding of the organization. You started with after-school programs, and somehow that led to food distribution. How did all of that come about?
Yeah, well, we started really by not knowing what we were doing, just knowing that we wanted to do something and something to give back. I met Bob Schless, the co-founder, doing personal training, and we took a volunteer vacation to New Orleans. And when we saw the impact of Hurricane Katrina, and we worked on Habitat for Humanity for a few days, we came back, brought that energy back, and said, what can we do to help? What can we do for our community? And we started as a grassroots service movement, getting our friends and family involved and joining other groups. One of the first groups that we got involved with was A Wider Circle. I know you guys know them. And we started calling around and assessing what needs to be done around here. What are the solutions that we can provide, and what are the problems? And so it took about, a year and a half of kind of field research and volunteer projects until we came to our first real sort of groundbreaking opportunity. And that was, I guess I used my sports and background with coaching kids to work at the Silver Spring Boys and Girls Club, and I led after-school programs there, and yoga and a basketball league. And then I remember an aha moment at the Boys and Girls Club on Forest Glen Road over in Silver Spring, where I just said, if we can give this spirit of giving back and paying it forward and pass that energy on to children, then we can provide so many kids with inspiration to make for a better world, because we knew we wanted to help the world, but we also know that we're only one or two people, at that time. So that was sort of the first iteration.
That's a great beginning story, tell me just a little bit about the name, So What Else? Because I get it, because there's so much that needs to be done. And once you put your energy to do something, you always feel like there's more I can do. So how did you come to So What Else?
Yeah, I think we got really comfortable with the question mark, and I think that it's a movement. It's asking yourself, asking others, what can you do to help? I guess I go back to Kennedy's quote: "Ask not what you can do, what your country can do for you." And I sort of feel like it's the same way for communities. So that spirit really has built a movement. When you go around, you ask folks and people, what can we do to help you? What can you do to help as volunteers? It becomes this snowball rolling down a hill. And as a nonprofit leader, your vision is always sort of top of mind and driving this movement. Your programs are your programs, and that's how you get there. The serving of children, the serving of food and things like that. But you always want to gear yourself toward this larger vision of, you can go all the way to peace on earth kind of thing,
Great. So the nonprofit began in Silver Spring geographically, and it spread very quickly across many communities in the area. How did the footprint grow so quickly?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Yeah, we did. We started in Montgomery County, and we started as a youth development organization. Once we, gained some traction and realized that, okay, I have this skill set of sports and yoga, and I like to do, character building and stuff like that. I realized that if we bring on other people that have talents in the arts and really anything, it's about, spending time with the children and providing mentorship and leadership for them. And so if I can bring in a wide array of talent, then we can expand our reach. And it was very grassroots, the movement from Montgomery County. We used to do this community day, the first Saturday of every December. And folks would come to my house, and I'd make my famous French toast. It's very good. It's the only thing I can make. And there was a young lady there named Patty Ross who was from Baltimore. And a lot of times at these days, they're very homey, so people will just get involved. And she said, I'm from Baltimore. I wish we could do something in Baltimore. And whenever people say that, I'm like, all right, let's do it. Yeah. And so, I think later that year we piloted a program at Utah Marshburn Elementary School in Baltimore. And I think that's one thing that's really neat about So What Else. It does have the capability to kind of spread, because you sort of need, a dynamic leader that can connect with people in need and connect with people who want to give. And you're kind of, growing that
Right.
base.
So how large is your staff, and do you have volunteers that you
Yeah.
depend on?
So we have, we've worked up all the way this summer. We could have, 90 people on staff and on the payroll. That's including like some teen mentors, which
That's a
is
pretty large staff.
It is a large staff. Yeah. It's hard to keep up with. But that does include like some smaller part-time opportunities, and we'd have a cool teen mentorship program where kids can get, the experience in social work and get a chance to gain some job skills and learn about the field, and of course help other people. We have built a group that I think, for me, one of the things that you always hear about the economy is we have to create jobs. So I feel like So What Else is creating meaningful work for people, meaningful, important work. And that really turns out to be one of the deficits that we found, is that, there's a lot of bankers and people on Wall Street and, and other things. And but are there enough athletic directors at an after school place?
Right.
And arts teachers in an after school place? And my answer would be no, not really. So when you take those dedicated people and you give them, you have that schedule, then you can really build a field of volunteers. I mean, we've got close to 4,000 volunteers per year.
Wow.
I mean, they're not obviously not
Yeah.
there every day, but
Wow, no, that's great.
But yeah, we have some volunteers have played a key role, especially here in Montgomery County.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit more about the partnerships that you've
Yeah.
developed. You talked a little bit about the school in Baltimore. Talk about some of those partnerships.
Yeah. Well, again, when the messaging is what can we do to help, we for our youth development work, which Valeria is going to tell you a lot about, we partner with schools and boys and girls clubs and stuff like that. And then I never quite broke into the stuff about the pandemic and how we responded with food, but as you get to know communities and they reach out for food, we build relationships with local churches and it can be even neighborhood associations, and it's great to have an insider on the ground there to help you deliver your programs, from anything from like flyering to just simply getting the community to come out.
Right.
Make sure everybody's aware of, could be a language barrier, helping us with, obviously reaching since the pandemic, we've seen a tremendous, uptick in our service of the Hispanic and Asian populations.
And in talking about that, we're seeing more and more immigrants that are coming into our communities. How has that affected your ability to serve an even larger number of people who need your services?
Yeah, so, before the pandemic, we were predominantly a youth development organization. We added this service of food and emergency resources. When we were predominantly youth development, we were also serving predominantly African American kids, especially in Baltimore and DC. And, Montgomery County is a diverse population, so a little bit of everything. But when the pandemic hit, immediately we saw, a tremendous uptick in our services for the immigrant population. Obviously, those folks were really marginalized. We've seen the waves that everyone's seen on the news with, Afghan refugees and Ukrainian refugees and Syrian refugees. And I think that, our community here in the DC, the DC proper, has done a really good job of handling these kinds of situations, and they lean on us for that. So I'm really, our motto at our food pantry is everybody eats. There's little to no barrier at our place. At the beginning of the pandemic, we weren't requiring any kind of status and
So let me ask you this. This is our time is going very quickly, but I want to know: is there a
stay.
success story? I want you to stay, and we'll have to have you come back. But is there a success story that comes to mind that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I always the staff has gotten so expansive that I've seen some folks that we've served that have moved up the ranks, so to speak, and become a staff member. One person that's on my mind right now is a young lady, Isabella, who's a real warrior, and she's dealing with stuff with her one of her kids is sick, and so it's a really tough time. But she came to us right at the beginning of the pandemic and was in line, at our food pantry. And one thing that was cool is during that time, we would bring a truck in, and sometimes people in line would be like, hey, can we help? Can we help? And a lot of volunteers and even staff members, came about that way, because you could just see that people want to give back. And that's always been our motto, is that people are good, 99 point, whatever percent of people are really good, and they're just sort of looking for a way, to give back. And so Isabella, went from a recipient to a volunteer, and now she is she runs our thrift store and our pantry at our new space in Rockville.
That is an awesome success story.
Yeah.
Dave, thank you so much for being with us. The work you're doing in the community is so important and so very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I'll be joined by Valeria Fuentes, Director of Youth Programs with So What Else. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more solutions.
The excitement that we have now that camp and everything is back in order is amazing. From cinema camp to all the different sites that we have going on right now, it's really putting things back in perspective. Everything that we are trying to do for the kids is actually coming into play as of now. We've been trying to really implement a lot of knowledge into the kids. We are creating our future right here. We're focusing on these kids in depth. For every little situation, I believe we are creating our future.
I feel like the So What Else programs teach you how to be very respectful for others people, and they teach you more activities to do. So if you want to do that, you can go about your life and then you can just do it.
Joining me now is Valeria Fuentes, Director of Youth Programs at So What Else. Valeria, thanks for being here with me today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So when did you join So What Else, and what motivated you to become involved? You look so young, but
I'm not that young. I actually first started in 2015 when I was a camp director in Baltimore, and I believe they had just started doing Baltimore programming.
Okay.
And so I did a full summer of camp directing, and it was really cool. And then I came back on last year in March, so it's been a full year and a few months in this position. But I've been working in and out of nonprofits for 9 years now.
Really, what's attracting you to nonprofits?
Honestly, the service, like mission-oriented work, I really love serving and working with people that we directly impact. Initially, when I worked in nonprofits, it was like on the grant space. So we were providing grants for communities in need. So that lens really helped me see the amount of impact and work that we're doing on the grounds that led me to where I am now.
That's very good. I think for young people to get it so early about giving back, it enriches your own life. So good for you.
Thank you.
So tell me about some of the programs you manage. You may have something coming up, but we don't need to know dates. We just need to know, what are you offering?
So we got 10 summer camps this summer.
10?
10, I know.
Wow.
And that's spread out, though. It's in D.C., Montgomery County, and Baltimore. And we have after-school programs, spring break camps, and then we do other types of community service projects.
So let's talk a little bit more detail about these programs. You got 2 types of summer camps. You have, it says summer camps, and then a theater. What is it called?
Team of Stars.
Team of Stars. Yeah, tell me about the 2 and who are they
Sure.
for?
Yeah, so those 2 summer camps are going to be held here, one in Gaithersburg, Team of Stars, and then Student Leadership Institute is going to be held in Olney. So the Team of Stars has been around for about 12 years now.
Wow.
It's a musical theater program, and it's a beautiful opportunity for rising 6th and 9th graders, 6th to 9th graders to get full immersion in producing, writing, creating their own play. And this year I really wanted to have their final performance in the Olney Theater. So we just got the news that we got it, and so August 9th we'll get our final performance there. I'm super excited for it.
Wow, at the Olney Theater.
And that's where we started. Team of Stars, one of their first performances was actually there, so it's going to come full circle. And then Student Leadership Institute is just an opportunity for middle schoolers to get service learning hours, and then they're going to be co-instructed by high school students that are working with a really amazing teacher, Emily Prather, who's been working with us for several years. And it's just a service learning opportunity for kids to learn about giving back and paying it forward, and which is at the core of our mission. So they'll work on several different community service projects throughout the sessions that they're doing, and there's 3 of them.
That's awesome. Tell me a little bit about the 10 pillars. The opening video talked about a young lady who came in a program with So What Else at 11 years old.
Yes.
And was taught the pillars, and now she's 17 years old, serving in the program and teaching.
Sarah.
Sarah, tell me about the 10 pillars. What are they?
Yeah, so the 10 pillars are our culture. It's at the foundation of everything we do, especially with youth programming. So it does encompass youth programming, compassion, paying it forward, teamwork, sportsmanship, making sure to not leave no trace. And then, so sorry, there's like 10 of them.
Oh no, don't worry.
Positivity,
We'll put them up.
nonviolence, among many others.
How did those pillars come about? Were you there when these pillars were developed?
This was before my time, but it was developed in the infancy stages of the organization.
Fantastic. So talk a little bit about your after-school programs. When do they run? What part of the year? And what do you offer in after school?
So after school we do several programs. So they're all in the 3 regions. They generally run from 3 to 6. Okay. So we have a few different types of programs. Sometimes we do after school programs in community centers within the housing complexes where the children live. Some of our programs are actually in schools. So we partner with Montgomery County Schools or DC Public Schools. And then some programs are actually like a mix of both, either like a rec center or some type of partnership with a community, entity. So it's a variety of programming that we do.
And so how do you go about developing these partnerships? You go to them and say, hey, we need space, or we have a program that we'd like to share with your young people. How do you initiate a partnership?
So they come about very organically, honestly. Some of them have come through our food space, actually. So I have a really great relationship with our food director in Baltimore, and sometimes whenever they engage with a new community partner where they do food distributions, they're also interested in our youth programming. So we create a connection there because they're both interlinked. The need for addressing food access and food insecurity also goes hand in hand with very, quality educational programs for kids. So oftentimes we do programming there. It also happens from community engagement. Sometimes I'm tabling at an event and people come up to me and they're like, hey, we would love to have you. How can we make this work, right? Or maybe they want to come to our programs and do like yoga or mental health counseling, or they want to do Tai Chi, So there's always opportunities for people to collaborate with us.
Do you work with the parents of the children? How do you interact with the parents?
So I don't directly work with them. I've actually been doing a new thing recently. I've been doing parent workshops with the Y in Baltimore, which had been actually really successful. And so I've been engaging with parents at one of our food distribution sites. And in that way, I'm actually working with them and the child at the same time. And so I've done sessions around emotional regulation, about parent-child relationships and how that affects their behavior. And then I recently did one about play, introducing play-based learning at home. So I think these types of workshops that are very interactive have been really helpful.
So when you say emotional regulation, what are you talking about?
A lot of young parents don't know how to interact with their own children, in terms of understanding their emotions and how they often vary as they grow into different stages. And so they don't understand their emotions or don't understand how to process these complex emotions, you know, and I think it's actually really wonderful to have both of them there so we can talk about it. And the kids are actually really like into it. Like you were talking about stress and anxiety and overwhelming, and they were like, wow, yeah, that's how I feel, you know? And so like the kids were like giving me examples, and I'm like, this is awesome, you know, we're really talking about these emotions that the parents might not even understand, you know?
That is awesome, because a lot of times young people don't want to tell their parents about how they're feeling. So the parents are getting an opportunity to understand what's happening with their child as they're both engaging their own emotions.
No, the kids don't have the language, honestly. They don't know what the feeling is, and I think that's the problem, right? Is understanding how to communicate their feelings, and that creates like a lot of complex feelings.
And I think a lot of time the parents don't have the language,
Yeah.
which really creates a problem. Tell me a little bit about Launch Cares. What is that program?
So Launch Cares is a community partner that's been an amazing opportunity to bring coaching and sports fitness classes to our programming. So they've been at a few of our different sites. So they bring teachers who do Tai Chi and like yoga and different activities like soccer drills. And it's been great to kind of integrate them into our programming because it also helps create more variety. So we have different types of programs. So some of them are mixed programming. They do art, STEM, you know, some tutoring, homework help. So coaching and like the fitness really complements that, you know, that variable.
And so how would a young person know about your services and come to you? How do you attract those young people?
Oh yeah, so we recently have been using a volunteer hub as a way for people to engage with on a volunteer basis. But I've been actually really successful putting volunteer opportunities on the Montgomery County Volunteer Center website. So I put all of the volunteer opportunities I have for our youth sites there that are available, which we're currently looking for camp counselors and teen mentors for our summer programs.
Is there a success story that sticks in your mind that you want to share?
Of like our students?
Yeah.
Oh yes. So one of our sites in Baltimore, and Baltimore is dear to me. I'm from Baltimore. I grew up there, and we have an amazing partnership with a nonprofit called For My Kids. And our children there, honestly, in the past 3-4 months, we've been implementing literacy programs. And just the fact that we're reading books every day with them, we're doing you know, a lot of literacy interactive activities. The kids' reading abilities have immensely grown to the point where like I feel like, wow, they're communicating so much better. Like they're actually writing stories right now. You know, they're engaging. We have like a writing contest called How Might You Change the World? So the kids are writing essay contests, you know, like submissions, comic books. You know, these things to me are so beautiful because the same kids that were frustrated with the fact that they're 5th graders at a 2nd grade reading level are now able to communicate their, you know, ideas through writing. Like that to me is beautiful.
That is awesome, Valeria. Thank you so much for being here and for the committed work that you're doing. I can see that you really are committed to the work you do, so thank you. I'd like to thank both of my guests, Dave Silbert, co-founder and executive director of So What Else, and Valeria Fuentes, director of youth programs, for coming on the show and sharing solutions that help improve the lives of children and families in underserved communities. The values of So What Else center on activism, diversity, equity and inclusion, compassion, and sustainability. If you'd like to support the work of So What Else, then visit their website at sowhatelse.org to find all the information you need to know about how you can help, or email them at dsilbert@sowhatelse.org, or you can call them at 240-602-0486. I'm Cheryl Hawkins. Thanks for watching, and see you next time for more solutions.